welcome to this exciting video where you once again join me in the wild, unforgiving countryside of Scotland here. And today I've come to this crazy countryside scene of Glen Clova, folks. And look at it. Normally when I've been here recently it's been clear and the weather's been beautiful, but today it's actually raining here. And when I was driving up the road I spotted there's some sort of stones up on the hill there. There's like a grassy bit, so I was intrigued just to like take a walk up there. Loch Whirl and stuff's up here on the hill, and other such like popular like walks around the Clova area. But today I just thought I want to come and have a look at this. The weather's not the best, but I'm out here all conditions, folks, going on these adventures. And this is literally a wild Scottish hilltop today, and the rain is on. So I'm just going to hit to navigate my way up to what I think could be like remains of an old building or an old croft, but then it might just be some big stones because the ground here is quite stony. And yeah, it's unusual, folks, but what I do love is not knowing what I'm about to go and see. And it's crazy often the history buried within the wild landscapes of Scotland. Oh, there's a burn here I need to cross. I do have the wellies on, so I should be able to make it across potentially. Whoa, it's quite a big burn. No way, folks, check it out. This is the first obstacle in this adventure. That's what I love about these adventures though, folks. It's like you never know what you're going to see, but also like you have to try and navigate to it. And it's so exciting sometimes. Wow, see, this grass here might be washed out below. I'm way to go for it though. Here goes. Here goes, folks. I'm full sending it. Yes, we've made it. Yes, that's been nice. It's crazy the amount of water in those wee burns just because of the mad conditions at this time of year. Like, there's been such heavy rain this whole week. You can tell through the low clouds and stuff on these hills. It's a damp environment today. Yeah, I'm loving the way that the clouds are just on the hills, and you can just see the hills disappearing away up. If you kept on going up that way about 5 to 8 miles, you would get to the place I was at last week in the videos when I was at Glen Clova. It's all similar landscape. Wow, this is a bog here now, folks. See, this is the next thing. You can disappear into a bog if you're not careful. Yeah, the landscape's just crazy. Trying to get off and on the adventure to document a bit of history, it's like there's often a reason nobody's seen it for years and years. It's often because it's so difficult to get to. It's coming to the end of the tick season as well, folks, but there's still a chance there could be ticks out in this long grass. Hopefully, because I've got the wellies on, there's less chance they'll be climbing about on me. This is the first interesting ridge in the ground here. It's like a grassy ridge, but the main, what I think's what's been a stone structure is further up the hill. But I just thought we'll stop by this initially and see what's here. So this here looks like it's a natural bit in the land here. You can often tell just from looking at something. From a distance it looked different because it was green. So I'm intrigued just to push on further up this hill here. Wow, there's another little burn here, folks, and a bog, all in one. Whoa, you can hear it gushing there. Little miniature waterfalls. This is some mad hillside right here, folks. See, it's hard to know, but a lot of stones are natural on the hillside here in Glen Clova. And also the sort of history, sometimes it's so ancient there's just nothing left hardly from a time gone by. That's how I thought, if there's like a stone structure further up here it could be interesting to see what it is. One time when I was up here with the channel DJ, we were way up on top of one of those hills in that direction, and we found an old abandoned fort. And there was like a massive stone built column, and that day we almost didn't even get off the hill. The conditions were so wild. Look at this, folks, you can see the blackness here on this heather, and that's a Scottish tradition that they do. They burn the heather in small sections, and that allows the young heather to grow in its place and rejuvenates the land. And that's for the hill birds like the grouse and stuff like that. I'm sure they eat something like the seed off the new heather, or they need it for their survival. Wow, there is just crazy like stone bits here, but the thing I'm seeing, like even from here, it looks different to all these other stone areas that I'm seeing. It looks more like a built construction. Look, folks, there's something here as well. See a small pile of stones that size, it almost looks like some ancient grave. It's just the right size. Wow. Craziest of history, folks. I'm just literally pushing on through this landscape, and there's little birds like finches or something flying about. The rain is on, but it's not too heavy. It's bearable at the moment. If it comes on really heavy, I might have to run back, but we're out here getting the footage, folks. I love seeing this. Like, I'm not sure if it's a natural mound in the land here. It most likely is. All this land created from what was left over from the glaciation period. I spoke about it a bit in the last video as well when we were down at Prosen exploring. But even way up here, the reason it looks like small hills and mounds, and that's what was left behind once all the ice melted from the glaciers. And the lower lying hills and the glens here are just a bigger version of that. The land had just been ground down at a certain time. Yeah, look, we found something here which has been built. Look at this here, folks. This could have been an old wall, or it could potentially be for the shooters. Sometimes the shooters build a small area like this for shooting over, so they get the protection from the weather, but also the defence, so the animals don't see them. And I can see other stone built little walls here, and I believe that's what that's been. Gamekeeper's territory, folks. This other wall that I'm going to look at up here, though, it looks older, and it's a bigger construction than these small walls here. Check this out, folks. We're up here with the sheep. We've got a little flock of sheep over to our left. And over this ridge here is roughly where I believe the ancient historical wonder is. Hidden in the wild landscape. And when I get over here, I've got no idea what I'm about to see. Just check out this view behind us, folks. A rainy Scottish glen and a crazy adventure through the middle of it. It's almost like the sun's trying to shine here through the clouds onto the beautiful autumn forests at the other side. Anyway, I'll dry the lens and we'll head up over this ridge. Look at this, folks, there is a wall section here, so it must have been some sort of sheep sorting area, or there was maybe a wee settlement here with like a wooden house, maybe a little shepherd's enclosure or something. Wow, this is an abandoned historical wonder with such an incredible view. And often the adventure to get to a place like this, it's just ace. I can see the wee Honda chilling down there at the roadside. Just check the sky out around here, folks. You can kind of see the storms just throughout the clouds. But we've been able to bring to you a bit of history, no matter the weather. It's just so cool, folks. Look, it's been a high wall at one time, because that's like the height of my head there. Considering how long it's been here. And probably hundreds of years ago. Maybe from the time, like a lot of those old houses we've seen, like in Clova and Glen and even Prosen, they were probably occupied until the Highland clearances, when the English came and cleared out of the glens like this, burnt all the villages, and a lot of the wee settlements and the old ways of life were done away with. Massive chunks of lands were like given to English earls and stuff, and lairds. Ken, the individual little crofter from the times gone by were just put out of their land. Ken, there's crazy like clan stories for like Glen Clova and places like that in Scotland, but people forget every glen, every bit of land was the same, like little families with their own little historical story. Ken, put out of their house and Ken, put off their land. I can see there's a little bunch of finches there and they followed me right up the hill. Or it could be a different bunch of finches like, but yeah, you can just imagine the people maybe using this enclosure here to make their money from the land. Maybe a few sheep and stuff that they would drove off these hills down, bring them here to sort them out. Wow, it's amazing to think I was able to see the walls, and I just thought it's more than just a pile of stones. And it's another little nugget of Scottish history. And this bit of land that I'm standing on is really unusual. See, maybe they had a little house on the top of this, and it would have been dry compared to the rest of the hill, because there's actually a rise in the land here. So many years have passed, the land's been formed by the vegetation which grows upon it. Whoa, I nearly dropped the camera there, folks. So like even cutouts and hollows like this, it's like hard to know if it was related to the original settlement here or what. Oh, look at that, folks. What is that? Oh, look, there's jelly there. This is weird, folks. Look at that, right? Look, there's jelly. That is some weird discovery right there, folks. I thought originally it was ice. I wonder what that is, folks. I don't know if it's something from an animal. Maybe there's been something wrong with it. That is just so weird. It looks like ice, and there's loads of it. What has that been, folks? It's like the Blob. I don't know if anybody remembers that ancient horror film when the massive blob was like taking over the city. That's almost what we've got here, some undescribed gel. I don't think any of the sheep would have been doing their hair. This is crazy, folks. Like, I can get a good view of the land here, and it is incredible to see this little settlement and document another wee bit of Scottish history out here on the hill. Whatever that strange gel substance is there, it's crazy. I've managed to document it, and is it of alien origin, folks? Who would know? There's a crazy cloud there, and it's almost the shape of like a tornado. That's all we need on this adventure, folks. I'm just thinking I could head along this ridge in the land, and I'll make my way back to the Loch Wirral path. See, this is the thing, I believe there's ancient history all over these hills, and I just love seeing stuff like that. Okay, to many people it's like a pile of stones on a hill, but to me it's like imagining the history and remembering the history of the folk that lived here, and the reason things like that are left abandoned like that. It's crazy, like, to consider the history of even the Highland clearances and stuff like that we've thought about in this video. It's a mad bit of Scottish history that kind of happened all over. Vast bits of land. There's nothing better than an adventure walking through this. It's like I'm just like picking a route, trying to stay dry, and I just love it, folks. Sometimes scenes like this is like Scotland at its finest. Sometimes on a rainy day, the land has just got a different character. Most folk would just sit in their house on a rainy day and think, oh, I can't go out, it's raining, when actually you can get on totally fine most days. So I think if there's any more abandoned history or abandoned buildings, it's most likely to be kind of in line with this ridge at this point. Because I believe anything else further up would be like a separate croft or settlement from back in the day. Look at this, is that a fungi? Check it out, folks. It's maybe been walked on, trod on by the sheep. In front of me here we've got a bog section to negotiate. Unreal, folks. A few months ago there would have been adders lurking in these territories, and all this grass would have been pure green, and it's crazy how it changes just in a few months. once you get some frost and some cold weather, heavy storms and strong winds, it just changes the land. There's such a difference between summer and winter. It's crazy to document the land through all the seasons as it changes. You can often notice it on like the video thumbnails. In the summer the colours are like popping and shining, whereas in the winter it's more like dark colours and just the natural colours of the land, folks. I've just noticed I need to dry the lens again. This is us on the next like interesting grass ridge here. No way, folks, a grouse just flew out there and I missed it. I didn't hear the camera switched on. The thing's doing a loop right around here. There's another interesting bit with a lot of stones up ahead, so it'll be cool to see if it looks like natural stone or if it's another kind of like built construction. Most stuff from a time gone by just gets overrun by the amount of heather and moss and grass. It's just a madness underfoot right now. Look at this, folks. This is what we spoke about in the Glen Clova video last week. Listen to the water. But literally, the water's not on the surface. If you're walking across these hills, like, you could disappear down like a 3-foot hole and drown, like, because over the years the water wears it out so deep. The grass grows over the top and then you get areas like this. You can hear there's a ferocious burn just under the surface. It's like almost standing on a landmine, like, because if you put a foot wrong, you can be a goner. Check it out, folks. We've made it along as far as this next stone section. It looks more at this stage like it's been natural, but there is no area. Since I walked from that like walls over there at the old, like whatever it's been, this is the first time I've seen stones like this on the hill. It's the whole way around this grassy section. So we'll take a walk right around here and see if there's any other clues we can uncover. I can just hear water, listen to that. Hear it? Below my feet there's a massive stream. Hear that, folks? It's unreal because there's no sign of a burn apart from the one that runs down from that side. Again, all that is just under our feet, which shows these stones are likely to be very deep. So probably most likely naturally here on the hill, rather than built. Whoa! I'm going up here. I have to try and not fall down a deep hole. This is just absolute insanity right now, folks, because there's just water. From the sound that I'm hearing in my ears, it's like I'm in the middle of a river. But yeah, I'm walking about on grass, and it's just craziness. Listen to it here as well. It just shows the amount of water constantly running off this hill, folks. That's how we'll have to be so careful with every step. Listen to it right below us. That was one of the craziest things for a long time. I've never heard that quantity of water, but that could actually explain the reason that these stones are like this. And the reason they're not over there is because there's not the same amount of water running off over there. The reason these stones will be exposed is from that quantity of water washing the natural sediment and earth away. It won't get the same chance to like build up at this section. So that shows this is like a natural creation caused by the water running off the hill. Quite cool actually to see that and to hear that like flowing, and then to actually figure that out just from looking at the land. That's what we're all about on these adventures, folks. We're often just learning kind of about the natural environment as we go, and it's cool to see how one stone structure we could tell was like man-made, and just from looking at it we've been able to figure out this is naturally created. Sometimes on adventures you just have to try and like uncover the pieces to the puzzles to paint a true aspect of like the history. Today we're witnessing ancient history of this land here. It's crazy, the sun's trying to shine through over here. There's just mad like storms moving all over the countryside today, and I've been lucky, I've been able to come out and do these like videos and document another bit of Scotland. I'm absolutely soaked there, folks, but it's worth it to get the footage. Now I'm waiting to try and cross over this little burn here, and I'm going to try and get back to the Loch Whirl path, and then that should take me back down to where the wee Honda is. This landscape's been ace, and I love having like a good mixture of landscapes on my channel. It's like, it's never just like one thing. There's just so much to see all over, different little items and cool wee nuggets. The dangerous thing when you're crossing any like hill burn, or most like burns in Scotland, the water washes out below the side. So like you could be standing here thinking you're okay, and then boom, it just gives way like. So I have to be super careful crossing like areas like that. Another thing, like that is like 4 or 5 foot deep right there, which is crazy, because it doesn't even look that bad, a little burn, but it's so deep. Could even be deeper than that. Wow, this is the land of the sheep, folks. I'm just going where there's like no path. You can't get a wilder adventure than this, because this is a real Scottish wilderness. The only people walking here must be like a shepherd or... Oh, I can see the road. We're not out of the clear yet though, folks, because there could be bog sections between me and the road. I need to look at the land and pick the best route. So I'm just walking through like short grass. Wow, this is just so cool to see, like looking down that. It's just mind-blowing scenery, folks. That droplet of rain there just ruined the centre of the frame. I'll get a wipe. An interesting thing I've noticed as well, that bit where the wall was, it's a prominent mound in the ground there, and I'm just thinking there maybe was a little house up there on top of that ridge, and that was most likely their field, which we saw like in front of the mound. And it must have been a crazy location to have a house back in those days. You have to imagine back hundreds of years ago like that, most of this land would have been natural Scottish forest. And often, like that field we saw might have been an individual like area they had cleared. And that house was maybe sticking out the top of the trees, looking off away down that beautiful scene. If it wasn't so cloudy, we'd be able to have an incredible view up there as well. It's just mad, like mountainous hills, all the way up the top of Glen Clova, out to Glen and that we explored last week. The glen from here kind of goes up and then goes to the left, slightly up Glendall. But like these hills just roll and just go on and on and on forever. And you can actually walk past like all the way to Braemar or any place like that. It's just crazy hillside, and you can imagine there was wee crofts and little settlements like that all over that land at one time. So yeah, videos like this keep the wee bits of history alive like that. And this is no looking too promising here, folks, because it looks like a total mad wet bit there. I'm going to try and pick my best route here. Look at the erosion on these stones, folks. See, these stones are like what I was saying, they were left behind from the glaciation period, so often extreme erosion can occur on them like that from the amount of meltwater that was flowing over them at one time. And you can see the bits which is left is actually the quartz seams, which is like the strongest part of the stone. So it shows there's been a ferocious amount of water or whatever at one time flowing over here. Or even a stone like that might have been part of a cliff face where the water was flowing along and then it broke off one day, and it could have been carried here from anywhere up the glens. But a similar stone to what we saw, the big standing stone, maybe like a month ago in my videos, ancient standing stone near Cortahay, in the frozen area, it was the very same type of stone as this with the quartz through it. But it also showed the same erosion, which I was theorising would be from the glaciation period. So it's interesting to see it on this one as well. Look at that, the two quartz seams, right? They're the same shape, but they're separate. Look at that, hey, that is cool to see that. Crazy history of even the geology. Like, I never know what I'm going to see around the corner, folks. It's cool just to learn about everything as we go along as well. And then you can paint a true like picture of what you're seeing and more of an understanding of the land. It's often just mind-blowing what's out there. A few months ago, all this heather here would have been pure purple. Now this hill here's got a real browny orange tint to it. I'm thinking the pathway's just over here. This long grass kind of stuff's the worst, because that's what soaks you. The water just seems to hang on the heads. Whatever that stuff is there, folks, there's just so much of it in this bogs. And look, sphagnum moss. Wow. We're right in the middle of what is like a sphagnum moss bog here, folks, which is extremely dangerous. Okay, at one point here I might have to turn around and come back out of here. This is insane. See how much my feet is sinking in? Sometimes sphagnum moss can be like 6 foot deep or more, and if you take a step in the wrong place, it's game over. You can also see here, look, the bog plants is starting to become more extreme and more overgrown. Yeah, I'm making my way through this, folks, but it's no the best part of the adventure. Yeah, I've just about made it over here. That was crazy, folks. Kind of a lot of this hill from the road, you would think it was just the same sort of land, but once you get up close, it's just tons of different things you have to negotiate to stay safe. Every footstep you have to be super careful. Look at this, folks, they've been burning more heather here. I'm not sure if this brick's been left here from that sort of time. Oh, it's maybe feed or something for grouse or hill birds. Yes, we're nearly back at the road, folks. Check it out. It's like a track. If you keep on going up there, it's Loch Whirl, and then those tracks just go right over the hill. There's actually an old World War II plane crash up on that hill that we did try and get to when I was with the channel DJ, but we set off too late in the day and we didn't have enough daylight. But one day in the future, we're going to go back there to do a special video and see what's left in the wreckage and remember the people on board and like what they gave for the country in the war, folks. There was people like that. They weren't necessarily on the front line when they lost their lives, but they were doing their bit for the country, and you can see why planes crashed in places like this in the war. Like, before they had fancy navigation equipment, the fog can roll in so quick. If you were just flying along, you wouldn't see the hills, and before you know it, it's horror. And that's the reason that there is planes and stuff on these hills, folks. And I've actually got a book which has got like the latitude and the longitude of all the World War II plane crashes, and one day I'm hoping to go around and document some of the ones, especially in the areas we explore. So that's cool as well, folks. Another little bit of the history of the hill. The road's right there, folks, but I'm super wary of this ditch because look, there's a big hole there with like green, mossy kind of like water weeds or whatever you would call them, and I'm worried this is like 8 to 10 foot deep. Every footstep I'm going to be... Right, I'm going full send now over to that grassy bit. Thank Crivens for that, folks. That was incredible. Look at this land. That has been a crazy adventure. It's a lot better now I'm back on this hard surface, but literally I am soaking from that bog conditions. And we've just literally walked miles all the way up through there and back round to here, and it's been such a cool adventure. I've just loved seeing what we've seen with that original like stone wall, and then imagining like the history up here on the hills. Maybe the people that live there, you can just imagine them out feeding their sheep and stuff, or I don't know where they would like drove them. If they were going to sell them, they maybe had a point further down the glen they would take them, and they'd be up here like breeding them. Yeah, the whole time the hills have just been covered by that low cloud. Crazy, folks. So don't forget, folks, tell your friends and tell your family. BKR's out here doing these adventures every day of the week, exploring the places that you've never seen before. Or if people have been up to this sort of area before, get in the comments. We'll love to share the history and can document the places that's like hard to reach. It's cool just to imagine, like I've said before in the video, the people that used to like thrive and make their living from places like that. It's like crazy history. And then one day it all changed. They just like moved out, the place was abandoned and forgotten. Over the years, everything's just moved on, and that wall's just sat there through all conditions, all weathers. Maybe forests were like disappearing all around it, and lands were changing, but the wall just sat there day and night. So the history of that is just interesting to document, folks. Ancient times. But yeah, I'm going to end it here. Thanks very much for watching. If you've no clicked the subscribe button, folks, give it a click. And we'll be back very soon with the next adventure. So yeah, tune in soon, folks.